Alright, we're live. Want to do promos, then we're good to go.
Okay. I heard that there was a LAN in Seattle,
Yeah.
but I can't find anything about it online. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, wait, you mean the one that just happened?
No, there was a Montreal one that just happened.
Oh, then I don't know. My bad. I got those. No, I'm thinking of something different. My bad.
And then there's one in Chicago a little later in August. But there's supposedly one in Seattle. I don't know. I can't find any info on it, so maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe it's a figment of my imagination. I think that someone was mentioning it to me, but they might have been wrong.
Well, either that or you're on a different timeline now. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I passed over.
Yeah.
Okay. I did a test recording. It's looking good.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, did you get my voice on it? Is my voice alright?
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Okay.
Alright, man.
Start this.
나오기 전까지 혹시 완전 것 같아요. 다른 팀 같은 경우 그 있는 사람이 아마 나와야 할 텐데 다음 주에 나와서 이영웅 출발합니다.
All right. All right.
Alrighty. I can't even see the lineup right now. I'm curious who's playing.
I'll bring it up for you. That's it right there.
Okay. Nice. We're getting super serial.
Definitely Protosses anyway.
Yeah.
Carolina.
I mean, we get Rush. Speed had a pretty good performance. Just hopefully he can play good again. Rush is nice to see. JYJ, it's cool to see him around as well. I'm kind of curious if Zerg are going to be able to keep bringing it all season long, or if they're going to like drop off at some point. So far, they've been kind of doing pretty good.
Yeah. See if Jaedong shows up big. Heroes like the Ringer, but Queen, I don't know. I don't know how his recent performance has been.
Yeah.
I don't have a very good impression, but
I think he's had a few okay games recently, but nothing that's like really made me feel confident about him again yet.
No. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. All right. You'll just have to go on a bit of faith here at the beginning because I'm going to have to switch back and forth.
Okay.
All right. Let's go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for week number 3 of the second season of KCM 2024. We're getting started with Snow versus Speed. Let's jump into game number 1. All right, it's looking good here today, Shin. And we're gonna start off with this matchup, which is it's gotta be a little bit rough, like mentally, for Speed to try and start off this week. You know that he got completely smashed in ASL. I think that's okay to talk about. at this point, right?
Yeah, I would say as enough time has progressed that we can start talking a little bit about that stuff. And he had a pretty okay showing in the last week of KCM. Very successful 2-port Wraith build on Retro when he was in bottom left. Yeah, so I would like to see him perform well again here. Protoss looks super serious this time, Snow, Mini, and Bisu. I'm also kind of liking the Zerg lineup, Jaedong, Hero, and Queen. I'm not 100% confident about Queen just yet, but hopefully he can start to shine again soon. And we also got Russian JYJ getting a little bit of limelight, and I'm all about it.
Jaedong in the lineup. I think that this should be a very fun week. But I'm scared for Speed right now. He has to be feeling the pressure. He had a terrible performance versus Snow. Maybe that is a fire for him. Maybe that's a motivator, though.
Yeah.
Coming up with better styles, coming up with tighter builds, and better defense against Reaver, which pulled him apart in that series versus Snow. It was probably one of the most efficient bops we've ever seen in ASL. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say so. That's for sure. I mean, it is Snow though, so it's like hard to compare, you know, these kind of like mid-range Terran players against Snow's caliber of play in PvT. But actually, this game Speed went for 11 guests, so he's already like going really fast into tech. This game does give him more options available to be a little bit more aggressive and what have you, and get sharper timings. And Snow, inversely, is just playing super standards thus far, just an in-base gateway, nothing crazy. So it'd be interesting to see how this pans out. I'm wondering if the fast gas from Speed will help him out here against Snow.
Looks like we'll have a pretty quick Nexus out of Snow as well. He was pulling, or he was adding probes onto the gas really slowly here. I don't think Gazelle's going to be popping out either. Straight into Dragoon. I think this will do well against what Speed is going for, because he's hoping to get a Vulture out on the map really, really quick, and just with one Dragoon in the natural waiting and a Nexus on the way, I think Snow's going to be feeling like he's in a pretty good spot. What is the follow-up though from Speed? Are we going to have like a Starport for a drop, or are we going to go, you know, something crazy here so we can get a little bit of an advantage going over Snow? Yeah. Try to make the game a little crazy?
It's a little hard to say because Terran players seem to really have different vibes about this map, and the way they approach it is even more diverse. It's straight up 2-factory play, which I can't really fault him for. It's a good map to go for a kind of 2-fact play on. It's not a build you see very often. It's not as potent as it used to be back in the day. Pros players way more adept at dealing with that. But as we can see, Speed is just like, you know, neglecting, preventing any possibility of scouting information. But this is a little bit suspicious already. He's trying to make it look like he wants to throw down a bunker and just kind of expand, but he doesn't want to do that at all. He wants to put on a lot of pressure right now. But I think Snow kind of smells something's up already, so I don't think he's going to be totally dead to this by all means, but Speed could still maybe kill him with this.
There's always that potential. Everyone who's played Protoss on ladder will know that the 2-factory is a deadly build, especially if you're caught off guard, but even if you happen to scout it, the proper response is not always known. But here as Snow, if he smells this at all, if he senses that this is coming, he should have no problem holding it. It's just how long can this be disguised here by Speed? How long can he keep this under wraps? Will it be long enough to spring the trap here on Snow and get the quick win that he's looking for? Robotics facility already on the way. No second gateway though, very importantly. There's not going to be many Dragoons to fight this. And he's coming across the map now with the first tank. Upgrades are on the way. And we've just got Snow right inside the natural. It doesn't mean that he's going to win right now, but this is a good situation for Speed for this 2-factory to have the best chance of winning.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 Dragoons just holding in the choke point in the natural, which is one of the better scenarios he could have hoped for. There's no second gateway. He is going to be waiting on Reavers to come out, and that will maybe provide him enough opportunity to come in here and set up a nice pocketed siege to really put the pain onto Snow. And he's coming in just as he's setting up a wall as well, so extra damage is going to be going down on these Dragoons on the exit. Already shaved off 2 of the shields of those Dragoons, and now pushing all the way through into natural expansion, laying mines in the wake of the Marines to tank as many of those shots as possible, and now providing a very safe retreat back outside the choke point, and pushes back in again to get even more damage done onto these Dragoons. So far, a lot of these Dragoons are really softened up, so far so good from Speed, but needs to be careful not to take any hits onto this tank.
Ooh, the mine connection actually changes the math here massively. I was looking at this and feeling really good about how Snow was holding the push originally. He was dealing with all the mines as they came down. Now going to pull the probes to try and surround this tank. Can he actually kill that? Citizens arrest here. Can he get it? He does. He picks off the tank, mostly with probes, with 1 shot from the Dragoon, finishing it. Do we have a Reaver? No, the shuttle is here, but the Reaver is not. And the last Dragoon is about to go down. This is great targeting by Speed. A lot of good mines here as well. Anything that pops out of this gateway is going to get instantly wrecked. Another big mine connection takes out that last Dragoon, and this is just a straight-up win for Speed. Game number 1. Revenge for the loss in ASL. The upset here is massive to start out this week.
이 빌드가 일단 굉장히 오랜만에 나온 빌드입니다. 원벌처 이후에 투팩토리 11-11. 사실 11-11을 선택했고 가스 조절을 안 한.
That was well executed from Speed, and he was actually still sitting pretty even before the mine hit. He was still looking good on paper. He got the goons all low HP. As long as he kept the tank on full HP, by the time the second tank rolls in, he's good to go.
I didn't see much reaction there from Snow at all. It seemed like he just wanted to micro goons and try to hold.
Well, there isn't
no shield battery.
Well, yeah, there isn't much reaction because he can only hope for like baiting Speed into a bad position and then trying to hope for like a probes round, like he was doing. It's just that he didn't, you know, get the execution he wanted, and then losing the 2 Dragoons to the mine makes the math even way worse, like you were saying.
Yeah. Let me just cross off a name here. Wow, Snow is dead already. That's
to Speed, no less.
That is a surprise. Okay.
종족 최강전 2024 세 번째 시즌 4주차 2경기 출발했습니다. 오! 스타 파트너님 별풍선 100개, 진목님 최고의 직업 아빠 되심을 축하드립니다.
Moving on to game number 2, we've got Queen spawning here in the top left-hand corner. Speed in the bottom right on Troy. It's almost time to say goodbye to this map. Shun, how do you feel about that?
It's bittersweet. I mean, on the one hand, it's not a very balanced map, but on the other hand, it gives some pretty interesting games. So, as a spectator, I can't say I completely hate it because it does give us some very interesting scenarios to cast and enjoy. But I can see how it's a frustrating game to play if you're competing and you don't want to deal with these kinds of weird, wonky imbalances. So, overall, I'd say I'm happy to see it on the way out, but there is a bit of bittersweetness there too.
I definitely agree. I know that I've splashed my fair share of salt on this map. I've disparaged this map quite a bit, but it is better than a lot of the crazy maps that we've had in the ASL in the past, and that it's given us a lot of good games. I don't enjoy playing on it. I'll be happy when it's gone, but I hope we get something better for our next crazy map. And that's not always the case. Oftentimes we're going for something much worse, so high hopes for the future, but a bittersweet farewell to this map. Maybe this will be the crowning jewel here. Maybe this will be the match that we all remember from Troy.
No.
Queen versus Speed here with a early pool and an early gas here from Speed. This is going to be an interesting start to this game.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who's going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, it's an economic 9 pool going up against potentially Mech or a 1-1-1 build, and Speed is completely walling in, so he's also giving the option here, maybe considering another 2-port Wraith play, which is what he did on Retro against Zerg, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes for another 2-port Wraith style here, or if he's going to just do more like 1-1-1 or Mech style.
He is very adept with that style. I would say he's one of the stronger players with the 2-port Wraith.
Thank you, buddy.
Able to get great damage in the early game and has a lot of finesse behind his early gameplay. I think that's one of his the reasons behind his moniker, the 10-minute flash. He's just got a lot of good early game sense and execution, but struggles in the late game. Now, sending out the Marine here might just be his downfall. Yeah. One Marine just going to send out on the map, and as that bunker lands, he will be able to repair through any damage that's coming out onto this supply depot, but he's going to have to pull a lot of SCVs, and it's going to be a while before the Marine is out here able to push back these Zealots, or these Lings, excuse me. So getting quite a bit of tax damage is Queen, and now going after the Assimilator. He's going to get this one for sure. Can he get the one on the left as well? Because if he kills both of these, doesn't matter if you're going air or not, it's going to make life incredibly difficult for Speed.
Yeah, I think he's going for the 2-port Wraith play either way, so he's probably happy with this overall. Yeah, and the SCV repair was pretty clutch by him, very well calculated. You need about 1 SCVs per 2 Lings, but that's not like a perfect repair. Eventually the Lings will win, but it will buy you enough time for the Marine to, you know, to make the Lings have to run away and what have you. So he's handled this early game pretty well, what we were saying earlier. That's one of the things he is good at, it's his forte, but him floating the factory like this, I don't know if this is a good idea. He's just really just like showing him his full hand. Like, this is what I'm doing this game. I'm just going to go 2-port Wraith. I don't know if this is the smartest of the things here from Speed.
Well, he can't build the Vulture inside the main because it can't get out of the natural anymore.
Drop or something. I don't know. Like it just makes it like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's okay, but a little bit about it makes me feel a bit, yeah.
Well, look at how quick this Hydralisk then is. Maybe you're right. He just knows. Like, okay, well, 2-port Wraith. I'll just build Hydras, counter this completely, and yeah, just build what, 4 Hydras here, and then just drone heavy. I think that's going to put you in a great position as a Zerg player. Got to pull back these Overlords, though. Looks like he is slowly pulling some of them back. He lands to try and build a Vulture. I'm amazed that he was even able to get the land there. It seemed like Queen was right on top of that. But I think the Vulture will probably get captured right off the bat. He could make like a little space for it. Okay, he's just going to lift off cancel. This is really weird from Speed.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused about the factory play. I guess if Queen was playing worse, this Vulture play would have made more sense. But we'll see what happens in the main base. So far, not really any drones being killed, just softening them up a little bit, and the Hydra timing is going to be pretty much effective enough to avoid any losses for the time being, besides maybe some Overlords going down to micro. One just did fail to micro there, but did take a lot of damage on that Wraith as well, so yeah, I would say overall this is pretty good defense from Queen. He's going to lose a total of 2 Overlords because of this one out on the map as well. As long as he made a few as backup so he doesn't get supply blocked for like more than a minute, then he's going to be sitting fine.
Well, this is still a little scary. Losing 2 Overlords so quickly, so rapidly like this. He's not going to be able to make Hydras or drones, and there's only 1 Hydra in the main base. If we come across the map with 4 Wraiths right now, there's potential for some damage. Now, he's going to come out and build a barracks or a bunker here on the high ground, start his CC in a moment, and defend with the Wraiths and Marines until he gets that online. I guess he's planning for a longer game, and Queen will have to take a 3rd base, but I don't know, this seems scary to me. We don't even have proper flow between our main and natural. We can transfer SCVs, we can move Marines, but building factories in the main and trying to build tanks, it's just, it's not going to make sense here. We need to get that factory out into the natural and landed with a machine shop, I think, as soon as possible, but it doesn't seem like that's in the cards for Speed just yet.
I think he's worried about the Hydra bust potential. He knows that Queen is the kind of player that would be tempted to make like 12 Hydras as soon as possible and try and just run into your base early game. He does do that kind of play sometimes, so he's a little bit wary of that. Queen instead just being a bit active in keeping the Wraiths at bay by trying to put on some pressure, but it's like Speed's not buying anything that Queen's selling, and he's just going straight for Queen's natural right now. There's not that many Hydras here as well, so Speed can abuse this position a little bit, But it seems like he's unable to get any snipes on those Hydras, so for the time being, he's going to have to go into the main base, even get anything there. There's actually only okay, there's 3 Hydras in the main base, so he won't die. But if it's just like 2 Hydras caught out of position, then Queen's in a little bit of trouble. But so far, he's only lost like 3 drones, and now he's losing a few in the main base. Overall, this is pretty successful from Speed, now that he's killing all these drones. Until that time, I would say it was very Queen-sided, but catching these Wraiths on the exit, a lot of damage done to these Wraiths. Only 3 Wraiths remaining now, saying. So I would say overall now this is a lot more Queen-sided for the time being.
Yeah, big swings back and forth there as drones go down and then the Wraiths fall. It gives a lot of leeway here to Queen. He can move out and not be so worried about losing tons of workers back at home, but maybe he moved a bit too fast. Still enough Wraiths here to one-shot those workers, and this is so many Hydras. You're totally right about Queen being the type of guy to just pull an attack with a ton of Hydras, and it looks like he's actually maybe going for a drop. Are we ready for a drop? A drop into the main would be insanely sick. We don't have any tanks or much movement between the 2 bases. If he drops in the main and kills the assimilator, can you imagine?
And the Wraiths are out of position, so this is going to be a successful drop. There's only Marines in the natural, and Marines, like, without medic support and stim, they're not going to do a lot against these Hydras. And this is 4 full Overlords worth of Hydras, so 16 Hydras coming into the main base, and some Lurkers being morphed as a kind of, like, backup insurance policy, making sure some critical damage is done. He's going to go straight after the tech, just kill the Academy! This is going to be a huge clutch move. He's got his own Lurkers on the way, and he's completely shut down the tech of Speed. Even if this drop wasn't super successful, the damage has already been done at this point. Speed desperately trying to snipe these Overlords so these Cloak Wraiths can go to work, but keeping this Overlord on the left-hand flank, meanwhile keeping it alive. Now the Lurkers are finished, then coming into a lot of damage, not only to these bio units, but mainly the SCV lines after they've cleared up these Marines, they're saying.
Oh, this is so sick by Queen. A moment of brilliance here. Just unloading masses of Hydras and making Lurkers in the main. GG is called. Speed taps out. This was a sick move from Queen. That maybe not the highlight of Troy, but this is a good example of why Troy is a pretty fun map to watch, and also quite a frustrating map to play on. There's so many different strange strategies that can come out, and interesting games that can be played on that map. But we're gonna jump into our next one here, guys. Queen on the board, putting Zerg up against Terran. Oh, I'll just cut myself off there.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna edit that.
I lost my
oh man,
lost my train of thought there. I almost had it.
it's a lot harder than it looks what we do, man.
Yeah, I almost had a smooth outro there. This is what all this is about, or not what it's about, but what it's been is just a massive amount of practice.
Yeah.
For broadcasting practice.
If we ever did like some live shows, I'd suggest that we do like outro rehearsals to like have some like decent stockline outros to work with, to like, you know, not get tongue-tied of outros and stuff. But since
I actually had no trouble when I was live getting through that, but I don't know, sometimes when I'm just sitting here at my desk,
yeah, you don't have that pressure to perform as much.
Yeah.
Pressure creates diamonds, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Kind of helps a little bit.
Just like get your girlfriend to sort of sit next to you with a ruler, and every time you make a mistake, she like whacks the back of your knuckles.
All right. Mini versus Queen.
Let's get it.
그래도 변현재거든요. 기세 한번 타면은 못 말리는 선수 중에 하나입니다. 맞아요. 그러니까 약간
Mini is our next contender here, spawning on Blitz Y versus Queen in the bottom right. The 2-player map. What kind of strategy are we going to see out of Mini? Always a blast to see this guy perform, compete. He has a lot of unique styles and unique approaches, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a gateway first out of Mini by the looks of it, since he's not probe scouting. He's a very emotional player, but when he is playing his A game, it is a bit of a treat to watch, and he's pretty good in this matchup as well. Queen, inversely, haven't seen him perform super solidly recently. I don't know how he stacks up to Mini right now. Just going to be a standard overpull from him, nothing crazy, to combat this early pressure from Mini.
There's been a few good games out of Queen more recently, but yeah, nothing that
Funny, Chad.
tells me he's back to his previous form, his 2-time ASL winning form. It's a little bit of shaky ground for Queen, and he's already failed to block the probe coming in on the ramp. Some pathing issue there with the drone means that this probe is going to get in and see everything immediately, and also block that natural from being taken. So Queen forced to take bottom left as his natural base, which is not optimal. You can't get a very quick transfer down there to the third, and you could come under a lot of pressure by this early Zealot play.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of impressed by Queen's control of this drone as well. He's already bullied the drone scout out of the main base. And it does mean that he's more likely to get the guaranteed placement of this hatchery, although Mini's still trying to challenge for that, despite the Lings being in the pro's presence. He wants to really be as annoying as possible here. Queen's almost got enough minerals for it, so it shouldn't actually matter that he blocked for a moment there. He's still going to get the hatchery down on time. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy to see where this game goes. I mean, so far, nothing crazy's happened.
Second Zealot's making its way forward. Queen will need at least 8 Lings to deal with that threat. It's going to force more larvae into those defensive units. With the probe here as well, it can mess with the math. Just 8 Lings might, all die to the 2 Zealot plus probe combo if not engaged properly, and Queen is aware of that. He's got nothing in the natural to defend, so he's just kind of scouting the front here, seeing what's coming, and baiting these Zealots to try and come forward to see if there's more Lings popping, and indeed there were enough Lings to deal with this threat. And in fact, Mini's just going to turn around and head back home, hoping that there were more Lings than necessary built.
Yeah, that's basically the main objective here for Mini, is to try and force as many Zerglings as possible before running back, and the Overlord doesn't see those Zealots running back until the very last moment, so if you're a little bit, more timid as a Zerg player, you do tend to overmake Zerglings, and it's usually safer to still make some Zerglings, because they sometimes will try and call your bluff and just keep the Zealots rolling all the way into your base as well, one game in a few, so you can't always just not make Lings, so it does kind of force you to stay honest as a Zerg player.
Looking very honest here, Queen, with about 10 Lings now out in front of Mini's base. He's not able to deny scouting, though, despite having so many Lings in the early game. He's being completely scouted. Everything is known for Mini for now. He's going to try to loop this probe back towards the main, but Queen is on a collision course with that. I think he gets it. No, looks like it stays alive. I'm just taking a look at the mini map. Probe still alive, but denied from getting in the main and seeing this layer.
Yeah, and the Stargate's only just now gone down, so I would say, this is a little bit slow from Mini, so he won't have the good confirmation timing on exactly what Queen's doing. So I'm curious to see what Mini's reaction will be to Queen's style, because I imagine Queen is just going to do a very standard 3-hatch Spire into 5-6-hatch Hydra, but I'm curious, because of this slightly later Stargate, if he's going to be a lot more hesitant to scout the early game, because he might not be able to feel confident enough to scout until he's got 6 Corsairs.
Well, with non-stop Zealot production and no sacrifices made to that Zealot number early on. Oh, 4 drones on the gas. It's a little bit rough from Queen.
He notices and fixes that.
Okay, he's just fixed it now. With this many zealots coming forward, it is a big threat. Oh, Mini gonna turn around again. This is getting pretty annoying for Queen, who built another round of Zerglings, and he's not going to be able to fight these Zealots before they have +1 in speed.
Yeah, so just to break this down into fundamentals for all range of our players, this is really annoying for Zerg, because they don't want to wait for the +1 to finish on the Zealots, and then they can start two-shotting the Zerglings and kill them more efficiently later on. They want to force the trade as soon as possible, so it's annoying for Zerg if they don't get a good trade with these Zealots before that the upgrade becomes relevant. It does look like they will be able to get a pincer surround on these Zealots from both sides, though, Sam.
Yeah, this is overcommitment here from Mini, and he's going to get completely surrounded. He's doing the best that he can to take the most inefficient engagement for the Zerg player, but looks like in the end, all the Lings will go down, all the Zealots will fall, and yeah, not really getting too much out of those early Zealots. Now, the follow-up push, when that +1 is done, is not going to go very well for Mini. He's going to have a lot less Zealots for that follow-up attack, and he just killed 2 Overlords. You know what? I feel like this is completely even right now. Even though we just saw all the Zealots go down and Mini can't really do too much pressure, he got those 2 Overlords at a pretty important time. Yeah, as long as the Corsair makes it back home, well, getting cut off. Trying to track that down. The Scourge have such bad vision range.
Terrible.
It's really, really tough to catch this. It's almost impossible to find it. And it will make its way back home. So yeah, what I said stands. This is pretty darn even. Jumping in here with 2 Zealots. This is kind of a funny play that Mini's doing right now. He knows that it's unlikely Queen would have made any additional Lings after taking that fight and killing off every Zealot. So he sends 2 more Zealots and tries to get in here, but I just pop out at the perfect time. Handled those Zealots, and hardly any damage comes on at all. No drones dead.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. I mean, a weaker Zerg player might have been a little bit slower in their macro cycles. Hydra's a little bit slow in popping out the eggs, and maybe you catch a few drones and what have you. And yeah, it's a good timing from him to try and exploit any window possible. Now we see the Corsairs coming out in a bit of a stronger force. Now at a count of 5, we'll start killing these Overlords much faster. So Queen will probably want to pump up to about 1/2, 2 control groups worth of Hydras after these rounds of drones now, because he's going to want to make sure he's like super safe against the Corsairs and super safe against any Zealot Templar that comes his way in the time being.
Well, you know, that earlier engagement with the 2 Zealots, it's such a small Zealot force right now. Only 2 Zealots here, 3 Zealots maybe total. Trying to come into the natural. Look at how weak this push is from Mini. This is all due to the earlier Zealot kills, but it was a gamble play from Mini. It didn't end up working out, but I understand the thought process behind it. You know, you're talking about a weaker Zerg player might have missed that macro round. Also, maybe, you know, he might have gotten lucky and that those 2 Overlord kills might have supply blocked and forced Queen not to make those Hydras, so, you know, he might have gotten a little bit more damage, but Queen luckily got the Hydras started before that supply block came through. He had extra Overlords in production, so he ends up flowing directly into Hydras without any bump in the road, and now he's in a really good spot with quite a lot of Hydras. A Sunken Colony here as well, and multiple Overlords, just in case the first Overlord gets sniped. He's not going to die to DTs here.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice effort from Mini, though. It's like you lean on your opponent and wait for resistance, and as soon as he provides resistance, you kind of let off a little bit, and that's kind of like Starcraft. You keep leaning on your opponent until he shows you weakness, then you exploit the weakness. But if they show you resistance, then you just back off and wait for another time, right?
Don't see any weaknesses here for Queen at the moment. Neither does Mini as he scouts the main. Plenty of forces around, and he's ready for anything that might be thrown at him, and starting to move out on the map with a small group of Hydras and an Overlord in tow. Just going to come in and check what Mini is up to. Mini has enough Zealots to deal with this, but this is a fast force of Hydras. They can easily fall back and run away from the Zealots in case there's a full-on engage.
Yeah, and the theory behind here with the Hydras is at this point in the game, they're not going to have that many Dragoons, so you know it's purely a Zealot Templar threat, and you want to engage that out on the map and micro back away from the storms. You don't want to wait for them to come to your side of the map and start storming you while you're already, like, you know, stuck in your own Sim City, and you're losing units and drones, and you can't get your own surface area to fight the Zealot threat. So this is really smart from Queen to be active out on the map with the Hydras at all times at this stage in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just saw on the mini-map, I believe it was the DT went running into the Hydras and died. So those type of little pickups can only happen if you're active on the map with your Hydras. And like you said, necessary to do this if you don't want to get stormed in your natural. You can't be hiding behind your wall. At this point in the game, the Templar threat is too real. Lurkers running up here, getting on top of this catwalk and into a very nice position. Oh my god, the storm on the left-hand side cannot be coming up that ramp there. Way too clumped up with the Hydras. There's only one more storm, potentially. Wow, a lot of this stuff is getting wrecked. Mini is trying to get one more Templar to the front here, but great dodge from Queen, and as he gets on top of these Dragoons with pure Hydra, this is going to go very poorly for Mini. Another storm comes out right at the end there, and Queen is going to focus down what he can, but Mini actually will hold for now.
Yeah, this is a powerful macro cycles coming out of Queen as well. Supply is currently just about even. Finally, Mini racing ahead with his macro cycle, but this is looking very Queen-sided right now. There's going to be a couple of storms left in the pocket of Mini to pull out in a moment here. I'm not sure it's going to be a sharp enough tool for the job. A lot of Hydras are going to be pressuring this expansion, probably getting the cancel on that. And if more of these Dragoons and Templars go down, there's not going to be a strong enough force from Mini to retake this third anytime soon. So
this is a very well done push by Queen. Really surprised that Mini wanted to come out and take that base without the help of an observer. When he saw the Lurker eggs being morphed at the natural of Queen, he knew that it was a threat. He thought that he could hold it with the Dragoons that he had, but more Lurkers are being made now. And after losing this third base, Mini's hopes are looking dire. It's looking very rough for him here. Another great storm on a good group of Hydras. But there's so much behind this, and Queen is just going to end up containing Mini here really soon.
I mean, there's a very hopeful DT out on the map right now, saying, making its way down to the bottom left. I don't think it's going to be too successful. There's already a Sunken over there. Even sniping some of these observers now, moving into the critical contained position. Those Lurkers are usually very stormable, but there is no high Templars in sight, so it's not going to matter that they're clumped up so much. And now able to take full advantage on these Dragoons out of position, getting the kill on this final cannon, moving the Lurkers up into a good position enough so that he can just now bust down the wall and snipe the Forge. And here these DTs trying to do some desperate efforts of a comeback in the bottom left, being just fruitless, they're saying, as we just saw. And now this Forge is going to go down. Some of the production, eventually the natural will have to be evacuated. GG finally called, and it looks like Zerg are just so dominant this season. So
all right. Wow. That was really well done by Queen. That was impressive.
yes, that's the kind of Queen I want to see more of. And he didn't cut any corners either. He made a lot of links. It's not like he was being greedy or anything. Like he also balanced how many Hydras he made and drones. Like when he droned at all the safe times, and he pumped out Hydras at the times he needed to. Like nothing. There was no corner cutting either. Like he just played straight up.
Yeah, he played really straight up, solid, very quick Lurker transition. And I'm actually starting to see that more and more, like the 4 or 5 Lurker timing with on 3 gas on 6 hatch Hydra, where right as you come out with about 3 control groups of Hydras, you build 4 Lurkers at home and then you do a push. It seems really strong right before the observers are done. It's not a lot of lurkers, but it just adds a little bit of extra DPS to cut through the zealots.
Yeah, I'm not good at executing it, but that's the way I like to play 6-hatch Hydra. But I was never really good at executing it. But that's the style I always enjoyed playing.
Yeah, it's cool. Very well done. All right, let's jump into the next one.
진짜 치열하겠네요. 근데 여기는 종족 최강전에서 기세 탄 김명훈입니다. 그리고 맵골은 유영진이에요.
Wow, Queen looking incredibly impressive in that last game. Able to take down Mini, and now 2 Protoss players have been eliminated. That is crazy. Snow Mini Bisu is such a sick lineup, and Protoss just falling flat here so far.
I mean, it's a very tough nut to swallow, right?
It's shocking. It's shocking. Indeed. Tough nut to swallow. Well, Queen looking like the old Queen, not the new Queen. But can he continue his success against Rush, now spawning in the top left-hand corner? Citadel is the map. Very strong map for tank pushes. Whether or not we're going to see that here from Rush remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be just a normal hatchery first here from Queen. I'm not sure if he's going to go for the 11 super fast or just probably standard 12.
Yeah, it's looking like that 12 hatchery. One way that Terran players, I've noticed, have been countering this 12 hatchery play rather than going for 8 racks. I first saw it, Flash doing it on ladder, but he's been going for CC first, and I haven't seen a lot of CC first until recently. It feels like he's been having a bit of influence. We're not going to have that in this case, but it's something to mention. CC first is making a comeback right now.
Yeah, Flash is the kind of guy where he looks at the meta and he has this kind of internalization. It's probably a subconscious thought, but he's probably thinking to himself like something along the lines of like, I don't follow the meta follows me. He'll do whatever he wants, and eventually what he does will trickle into the meta rather than the other way around. He will obviously look for the problems. In I think recently he was having problems with upgrade Terran against Protoss, and he's recently been figuring out, okay, I need to make more factories and go up to 7 factories before I start my 4th CC, and he's going to make those kind of micro adjustments to like you really figure out the game, and he'll hit timings that you are not prepared for. He'll go for styles that most players don't go for because the windows to abuse your opponent are so razor thin, and your execution has to be so high that it's usually not worth it, but Flash makes it worth it, and that's what's different about the guy.
Hitting those razor thin timing attacks, something that Rush is no stranger to. This guy basically made his career in TVZ off of the 2 racks play. That's something that basically everyone can do well, but he does it at a higher level, like he has an excellence in his 2 racks play that few can match. Queen gonna be very familiar with that type of style, but what can he pull out here to combat that? Will it be the 2.5 hatch, or is he gonna pull out something a little different? He's got 300 minerals in the bank. I believe he's about to throw that down. An extra hatchery? No. It will be some sort of 2 hatch Spire play. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, Zero Queen was basically known for only playing 2-hatch Muta. He actually used to go 12 pool 2-hatch Muta a lot, and he was very good at it. Very, very strong, high-level execution player. He's able to pick up all those old skills that he used to have and incorporate them into his modern meta. Even though he's more of a macro player now, he still has these very high execution, low economy routes to work with. And I like that about Queen. I just would like to see that older execution that he used to have was always so impressive to see. And he has been performing a little bit better as of late, so I'm hoping to see a new Queen overall.
I was very impressed with that last game versus Mini. He handled everything that Mini was setting out incredibly well. And he hit a really sharp timing with that 4 or 5 lurker push. That's become a little bit more popular recently. And here he has the third base down pretty darn early. See if he can defend that with his Mutalisk timing. This is not a 2 racks play from Rush this time. He's going into 4 racks with +1.
Ooh. I like it.
Yeah, a very strong mid game will be coming from Rush, but can he hold this first wave of Mutas? Getting an SCV into the main base right as the Mutas are starting. No need for any sort of scan here, so Rush getting a little bit of a win, just in the fact that he doesn't have to build any scanners.
Yeah.
He's really saving himself a lot of money as the turrets are coming up right now.
Oh, it's a big win. He's basically just going to cut SCVs anyway, but then he's also gaining the minerals that he doesn't need to make the comsats with, didn't have to mine as much gas and what have you. Like, everything is just so much smoother for him as a result. So he can squeeze out the turrets despite still going for a high production style of 4-ax. It does mean he's got a lot less SCVs overall, but that's kind of how players like Light and what have you like to go for. They're much more lighter on their SCVs and much more heavier on the amount of units they've got and the timings they can hit. And Terran's all about hitting those mid-game timings to abuse a Zerg. That's what makes and breaks great Terran players in this matchup. Players complain about Dark Swarm, what have you, but a lot of the times is that they're not hitting earlier mid-game timings to kill the Zerg before they even let them get to that Dark Swarm timing, which is the issue.
Well, recently, I in general really do agree with you about the timing style for Zerg, but recently there's been an interesting trend coming from a Light where he goes for 3 factory and double expansion rather than trying to hit a timing to break the Zerg player. He's gearing up for super late game with upgrade mech and Marines. And it seems really strong. We'll see if Rush has caught on to that yet. I think it's something that might be a big factor later on in the future, in the next season of ASL or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Wow.
Good control here so far from Rush.
Really
actually
impressed.
picking off multiple Mutalisks without taking much damage at all. Another one goes down. Wow.
I'm getting nerd chills right now. The way he was like moving his Marines in and out of line and square formation, like very, very swiftly. Like, it's very difficult to do that. He's both like manually manipulating the formation of his Marines to make them either safer or to give them more surface area to properly engage the Mutalisks and kill them so quickly. Because if you fail on either of those things, you'll either lose too many Marines or you won't do enough damage to the Mutas. So I'm really impressed by his bio control.
I'm a little bit worried for Queen. He just started his Hydralisk Den. But this is 4 racks production, and there's going to be so many Marines in just a few moments. With the number of Mutalisks that have gone down, I don't know if he can buy enough time for this Lurker transition to happen. Had he flown in immediately with the Mutas and seen the 4 racks and just dropped the Hydralisk Den and started Lurker immediately, he might have had a little bit more leeway in that regard, but right now he's got to do some serious work. Then he's doing a great job swapping out low HP Mutas, keeping the stack very high, and shaving off Marines one by one, but this can only take you so far. +1 Medic Marine on 4 racks is going to build up super quick. It's going to be very hard to deal with.
I would say so far Queen has been successful in keeping this ball manageable. It's just now starting to reach a critical point where it's going to be much harder to clean up this bio. But there is 5 medics that have had their energy almost completely drained, so this is still much more manageable for Queen. And he did get a snipe on one of these medics as well, so it's still a manageable ball for him to keep bouncing around in the center of the map and not allow it to come towards his goal in the bottom right, which has no sunkens, and like you say, the lurker timing's not as crisp as it should be. So if he was able to get across the map right now, Queen would just be straight up dead. But he's done a good job of dogging this Bioforce constantly and not allowed Rush to come across the map at the cost of a few of these Mutalisks.
This definitely worthy sacrifices. And this is for sure worth it from Queen to just pick off a few extra Marines. Some of the engagements weren't the best. Some of the engagements were a little bit rough. But there's the lurker eggs coming down now. Kind of right next to the hatchery, so might kind of look like eggs of hydras or lings, regular eggs popping out, but it's actually lurker. I don't think that Rush was fooled by that. He's just staying back, playing safe, not taking any damage on his SCVs, waiting for this transition to Science Vessel. And now he's going to be able to move out with a lot of strength. Will Queen be ready everywhere? He's got to be stacked with Overlords over top of his lurkers. This is the part of the game where it's incumbent upon Queen to properly defend, and Rush is going to be the aggressor now.
Yeah.
Flipping the script.
Yeah, you want about 1 or 2 Sunkens and 3 or 4 Lurkers stacked, and maybe even an Overlord like over the top of those Lurkers, like we see Queen just setting up here. And that's a pretty much an adequate defense against this massive mid-game push that Terran can usually leverage against you. Here we see the Mutalisk doing the role of the Overlord and just chilling on top of there.
Lurker stack with 3 Lurkers. Is that going to be enough? Looks like Rush thinks so. We'll back away for now. Rush here. Throwing down another expansion. He has 2 drop ships.
Ooh.
And could be, setting up for a drop into the main base or that bottom right-hand corner. There's quite a bit of Queen army on that center left, so might be hard to slip by in that direction. Maybe looking for a different vector here, though.
Right.
I think this will be a 4 dropship. He's waiting in the main. He's actually going to be waiting for 4, I think.
Yeah, if he goes all the way up to 4, it's going to be super crazy. But so far, Queen is being super active with these Mutalisks. That it's really delaying Rush going for that Gambit, because he knows he can't just come down on the vertical vector, and he knows that he needs to know exactly where the Mutalisks are for those dropships to not just straight up die. Beautiful Irradiate's coming down on there, and the split's pretty good as well, but some damage was still done to that Muta stack, so it's now probably softened up enough that Rush is going to feel a lot more confident in just going wherever he so pleases, and now we're going to see the dropships move out.
I'm only seeing 2 dropships. I'm not sure where the other ones are, or if they were made at all.
I don't think so.
Going directly into 4 bases is Rush, and we might truly see what I was talking about earlier, which is exactly what Light did in not trying to break any bases, just getting Irradiates to get some damage, maybe go for a little drop here and there, and then switch into a massive tank army. Dropships are going to be caught in the vision. Wow. Just barely saw that. I don't think that he saw it at all.
No.
This drop is probably going to get off in the bottom right, but there are Scourge available, so let's see if he can get this into the base. Oh, he's going to catch this. 1 goes down immediately. Only a single Marine makes it out of that 1 dropship, so this is going to be much easier to hold.
Yeah, there's only 1 Lurker here for the time being, so with a scan and stim, he can still clean this up and be a little bit annoying. But eventually, this drop will probably be a failure. Some Lings are coming in. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't think he needed to Dark Swarm there, but yeah, it's a nice cleanup by Queen, and he's going to go straight up to 4 gases undeterred. And the 12 o'clock has also been denied by Queen with a counterattack of Ling, so won't be able to see like super fast BCs as early as he wanted to. He did want to go for those BCs, like we see there, the physics lab, so it's much harder for him to squeeze out these critical units like the battlecruisers and vessels now without that 3rd gas can be coming online.
Ooh, counterattack from these Mutas and Lings, but the Marines are standing strong. +2, +1 is online for Rush. Hasn't been able to do any damage, though, direct damage to Queen. And that 4th base in the bottom right has a lot of hatches coming online right now. We've got a couple of extra hatches down there. With that gas rolling, more drones being added on. This Ultralist transition is going to be very, very scary.
Yeah, he's going to make like a massive round of ultras. You'll have like 6 or 8 ultras kind of rolling out all at the same time soon. Looks like we're still going to be having a continuous threat of dropshits being leveraged by Rush, seeing if he can come down into this bottom right pocket of the map and break open Queen. But the longer this game goes on, the more set up Queen is going to be able to respond to these threats. Already the Nidus Canal network there, so if he's got units just waiting on standby to jump in that, he's got some Scourge here waiting on the periphery. And the Radiate does come down onto the Scourge, actually, denying that snipe on the Vessel as well. Really well timed to not lose that Vessel. And now the drops coming in. There is a Darkstorm down here and some units to kind of ward this away, but honestly, like, if Rush is clever with how he positions his units, he can still be really annoying down here.
Yeah, he can definitely be annoying, but the later these drops come in, the less annoying they're really going to be. He's not going to get too much damage with that. 8 kills on that one Firebat. I think most of those were probably Lings, though. And this army is probably not going to do too much in the main base. He will find a little pocket with no Dark Swarm that he can abuse for a moment, but as soon as another Defiler arrives, this hatchery will be safe, and that 4th will be operational once again. Coming in with the Science Vessels, it's a bit of a bold move for Rush to keep these Science Vessels around because the Marine Medic army is so small. If it suddenly gets surrounded and a bunch of Scourge come, you can very quickly lose your entire Science Vessel force. He does back away, though, and gets his Science Vessels together with the rest of these. Oh, that Plague is disgusting. With the rest of these Marine Medic. So he's not going to lose them all immediately. Muta's coming in to pick off a couple of those Science Vessels, but that's not the real threat right now. The real threat is all these Ultras in the main that have just popped out. This is so many, and he's just waiting on another upgrade and some speed to come through for these.
Yeah, when you don't play Crazy Zerg and you play more standard Zerg into Ultralisks like this, you don't want to be too aggressive because your upgrades are actually quite a lot slower than the Terrans, so usually you're just chilling for a bit longer to catch back up into the game. And the Terran's +3 weapons should be finishing up in about 30 seconds or so as well. So even though he's got 4-1 on these Ultras, he knows the +3 weapons upgrade for the Terran are going to be coming online in just a moment here as well.
Another drop down into the bottom left, but 3 Ultras should be able to handle this. Plus a Defiler as well. There's the Plague. Oof. That Irradiate's going to be helping this Ultra here in a moment. It's coming forward. Oh my goodness. Like four Marines just exploded instantly.
So efficient.
Upon contact there. Scanning in the natural of the bottom right. He might go for it here. He might D-Matrix and spread these Marines. Try to kill the natural right now. There's not a lot for Queen at that area, and once you get rid of the Overlord, you can right-click down suddenly a bunch of Lurkers. Great Plague in the middle of the map, getting great value out of these small pockets of Lings and a few Defilers. Another drop down here in the bottom right. This is getting a little bit tedious from Rush because Ultras are out. They're never going to be enough Marines popping out of these drops to actually deal with the number, or just a few Ultras. Ooh, an Eraser here in the natural. Rush is trying to make it as crazy as possible to try and, snowball in some location, maybe break through this natural in the bottom right, but so far Queen is handling everything really, really well.
I mean, right now Rush is just trying to build a ladder out of chaos and then wants to ascend it. So far he's doing a pretty good job of that. I would have liked to seen him try and get that Razor into the bottom right pocket, the expansion where all those drones were. And looks like the Queen, I mean, it's only going to be a matter of time before this huge force of Zerg starts to swallow up some of the Terran out on the map. There's only a few more moments where Rush has like some significant threat he can leverage, and right now Queen's being a little bit wasteful with his Ultras, only sending them in like 2 at a time and getting them like gunned down by these pockets of bio units, and that's really favorable for Rush. If he can keep a critical mass of Marines alive to keep the Ultra threat at bay for just a few more moments, now that he's got this 4th base chugging away at 12 o'clock, he's got just barely enough gas that he needs to start getting battle cruisers on it. Queen knows that that's a big issue though, so he's going to be doing a lot of counterattacks, trying to shut down some of this gas mining at 12 o'clock if he can.
Yeah, that shutdown at 12 is not going to go in Queen's favor, and Rush has enough pockets of Marine Medic all over the place to cut off reinforcements. This is a good trade right here, jumping on top of small groups of Marines, but Rush is heading down south to deal with this 5th gas. He's going to be able to shut down this base, most likely. A good wall of medics there on the right-hand side. Kind of moves out of the way and allows the Ultras to get on top of the rest of these Marines. So a little bit of a lack of control there from Rush. He will just abandon ship, running home with these medics as the hatchery goes down. I think he's going to be happy with that trade.
Yeah, it's just so hard to stay on top of everything as Terran in these positions. Like playing Bio against Zerg in the late game is one of the most mechanically demanding things there is in Starcraft. And Rush is doing his best of it, about almost 400 APM, but still struggling to keep up on all fronts. It's so difficult to control these units in such a like crazy, chaotic game like this. But so far I'm kind of impressed with him, but I do think that Queen's going to start. Oh, it's dropping the bottom left. Actually gets quite a few drones. These drones are on the way back as well, so he's not paying attention. This fireback could have maybe done something to them if they were on target fire, but there's no way Rush is going to be paying enough attention to like do these small micro adjustments at this phase of the game, most likely.
My attention is on the 12 o'clock right now because the Defiler made its way from the bottom right natural with the Dark Swarm coming down and Ling's Ultras getting underneath. This base is likely to go down. This is the unfortunate part about Rush. Throwing his entire army into 6 o'clock, he left a lane open for Queen to begin an assault towards that 12 o'clock. Right now, Rush is just going to pull the trigger on his own counterattack, trying to break through into the natural, but a couple of Ultras tanking damage for the Sunken Colonies to wreck through all of this bio, and Rush is completely falling apart. All of those Marines go down. He does have some vessels still, pretty good chunk of vessels, but his overall Marine medic count is so low. Wow, that's a lot of kills from this science vessel. The Eraser trick dealing more damage than anything else, but I just don't think it's going to be enough as Queen pushes forward and takes out more of these bases.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Oh, we see a little lurker play over here on the ridgeline as well, denying some mining, maybe killing some SCVs. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I really do advise Terran players to put like a fire bat or two in those bunkers at those proxy expansions, just so they've got some protection against Dark Swarms, so they can't just get overrun by one Defiler and a control group of Lings. The Eraser tricks might come in clutch if the game drags on for much longer, but he's going to have to do a lot more than just kill a few drones if he's going to take Queen out of this game completely.
More drops coming into the main. He's been relentless with this drop play, but the Erasers are really what's dealing the big damage. One thing I often would prescribe to these Zerg players is getting Burrow.
Yeah.
It can help so much in these late game situations. It only costs 100. How is it possible that Queen doesn't have Burrow at this point?
Crazy.
He's paying the price for it. And it is an incredibly steep bill. He may end up losing the game. In fact, he has to cancel top right just to get a few more minerals out so that he can make a few more drones to get this mining going again.
Yeah, for the low cost of just half an Ultralisk, you can stop like dozens of drones dying. Who'd have thought, Sam?
That's often overlooked upgrade, severely underrated, and it's costing Queen maybe this entire game. Drop coming down into the bottom right-hand corner. There are Scourge available to deal with that. Only one Firebat makes it out, but with two medics, he's basically Rambo. He's just going to be able to hold off all the Lings in the world in that bottom right. Well, maybe not that many Lings. Let's see if they can get this around. Meanwhile, Marine Medic breaking through at the natural. A counterattack coming onto the final mining base of Rush, but a Defiler gets sniped before it can throw down any Dark Swarm or any spell there at that natural, and that might actually be the breaking point.
Wow.
Rush is smashing through. There was no Plague. There was no Dark Swarm to keep these Ultras alive, and look at this. He's losing the very last couple of Ultras that he has. Another Racer trick coming down here to deal with these last few drones. A few more Lings pop out, but this tiny little Special Forces group of army is clearing out everything. Queen has one more mining base over there in the center right, And with a few more ultras popping out, he might just barely be able to hold on, but this is so close.
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, I think Russia's just barely done it, but by the skin of his teeth has he done this. Like, this is kind of wild. The Queen can still actually mount a comeback. It's just very tricky. Oh, the catches on these vessels are actually critical right now. If he kills... Yeah, this is really... Okay, it's a huge play from Queen. That's the only thing that maybe gives him a decent-ish win chance in this game, but it's still going to be a rough time for him. There's also a few more Scourge out that can deal with the remaining vessel or two as well, but he's got such little mining right now. He won't just like straight up die maybe, but I think Russia's still done it. I think Russia's done just barely enough critical damage that maybe Queen can't stabilize here. It's hard to say.
Well, Queen just killed every drone at the center right. Or, sorry, Russia's killed every drone of Queen's at the center right with just one eraser trick. And now the Nidus is going to fall. The bottom right-hand corner has basically all the drones in this game. We've only got 38 supply, so
yeah,
this is like 10 supply of drones that's just about to fall. Center right going to be harassed by a fire bat. It looked like Queen might be able to stabilize, but now that Rush comes across the map for this counterattack, we can see Queen is out of this one. GG is called as he taps out. Rush takes an incredibly high-octane game there. And he gets the clapper.
That went from being a pretty standard game to going to all kinds of level of craziness.
Hello. Good, how are you?
Hungry. How's it going?
It's almost 5 o'clock. I think we need like another hour. Yeah. Can you go hang out at the beach or hang out with my parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, in an hour,
Yeah, I'll be done in about an hour.
then first.
Okay.
Mm. You're a bit strict.
Hmm? Yeah. That's crazy.
Crazy. He's been really wasteful with his ultras, man.
Yeah. It really, I think, came down to that last defiler. There was like one last defiler that was walking from the natural over to the third. You know, sometimes in a panic like that, I often do that as well. Like, I try to click the Nidus and then shift click, but I miss the shift click and then it doesn't go through the Nidus, it just walks
Right.
to the other base. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Gets caught
Like,
in the
you
middle.
thought you held down shift, but you didn't, so it runs instead of goes. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, because if it hadn't just died there, if it had gone through the Nidus, you know, if it had energy, he could have dark swarmed, and those 2-3 ultras that it took to kill the to finish off that force, or that died to that force, would have won that fight.
Yeah.
And then he would have had more to defend, you know.
Isn't it crazy?
He killed every
Isn't it
science
crazy how a
system.
Zerg can look impenetrable, but a player of Russia's caliber can still create points of weakness? Even though there isn't a point of weakness, he creates points of weakness to exploit.
Yeah, he added chaos,
Yeah.
and he just kept pouring on the chaos until eventually
You have to do that as Terran. You have
cracked.
You have to like you're essentially like laying siege to the Zerg for an extended time, and you're like waiting for like 1 or 2 minutes while you're laying siege to them for them to make mistakes. Then when they make those mistakes, you capitalize on them.
There weren't a lot of mistakes. There weren't a lot of big mistakes anyway, but
Yeah, this level
not making Burrow was definitely one of the
that's a big
biggest.
one. That's a big one. Because that definitely cost him any hope at like stabilizing. That's for damn sure.
Yes.
I'm trying to do a better job of like not calling games too early, but sometimes it's hard to sell. There's a comeback potential when it looks like that, and you're getting smashed.
Yeah, it is tough. I'm trying to say here less because people have been telling me I say here too much.
Fuck them, dude. Let them tell you anything.
Yeah.
if you
be more verbose.
Yeah, but both things are true. You should like be mindful of it and expand on yourself, but also not focus too much on what people say. You still want to be yourself at the end of the day. If you only focused on what your audience wanted, you would lose your own identity as a caster and streamer and YouTuber.
Sure, that's true too.
You need to find a balance between those two things.
자, 완벽한 승리의 조건 LG
Alright.
울트라고요. KCM 종족 체험. 고민이네. 고민이기도 하고 걱정이기도 하네. 왜냐면 승수가 똑같고 패수가 똑같아 버리면 어떻게
Okay, final Protoss player of the night, Bisu, spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner. Rush. Hot off that last victory. Man, was he looking good in that game.
Yeah, he's hot off the press right now, and it's a good read as well. If you want to go and study up on how to like beat Zergs, like this is a good guy to watch. Most times you'll see players just kind of like wait for something to happen and then try and exploit it. You have to think at higher level than that to be really successful in Terran versus Zerg. You have to create the points of weakness, lay siege to the Zerg for extended time, and over a minute or 2 minutes of laying siege to the Zerg and creating this chaos and opportunity, eventually the opportunity does present itself and you can exploit it.
Personally, I thought Rush was in a very bad position after losing the 12 o'clock. Once the Zerg player gets on the map and with Ultras is pressuring the Terran, it is common for a Terran player to just crumble and fall apart, but you can see that Rush is a higher caliber, able to stand toe-to-toe even against those crushing, overwhelming numbers of Ultras. He's constantly harassing and going mad with the vessel play, but I mean, how crazy is it that one upgrade cost Queen that game, basically? It's kind of wild to see in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I really do want to see Queen perform better, so I'm not gonna like badmouth him too much, but he's been performing slightly more okay. So I'm gonna give him a few more weeks to kind of like show that he's a different kind of sharpness. But so far, I'm not yet convinced by him. It looked like Bisu was considering cancelling the gas and then maybe remaking it, and to then cancel it again to try and optimize, but then he didn't do that. I think actually it makes sense, because if you're threatening that, it might tempt the Terran player to like rush over to the gas with an SCV to build the gas if he does cancel, and that would like delay mining time. So maybe he's like just trying to get value out of the scout, even though while it's doing nothing. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, here I think it's fine to just let the gas be and delay that as much as possible. From Rush is gonna have to do some sort of gasless fast expand play. Even if he kills the gas immediately here and starts it, he will have to get that Nexus before making a factory. There's no real way around it. SCV is gonna be pulled to the ramp. I think he's killing the gas with like one SCV, which could be problematic because Bisu is here with the probe ready to dive in and just suddenly throw down another assimilator if Rush is not careful. Rush does bring another Marine around, but he's coming in with that probe. Can he actually get it? 30 HP, 22, 19, 11, 8. Okay, looks like the probe is far enough away. He won't be able to re-steal that. And he catches the probe as well. Nice job from Rush. He's holding on both fronts.
Yeah.
and we'll be able to get that gas.
I mean, that little mini game was forcing attention away from Rush, and a Marine wasn't able to come to the front to help against those Zealots, so it did give Bisu a chance at exploitation and wasn't successful, so really nice from Rush to be able to hold his own under that kind of early game pressure from Bisu, and both those Zealots are really softened up as well, so yeah, so far everything going his way. Bisu trying to be fancy and catch this SCV and deny its scouting, but so far Rush has been able to juke and jive around enough to not lose the SCV, so he's getting a pretty good scout off in the main base.
Very hard to do to keep this SCV alive. There it goes. It falls. Zealots there doing a good job cleaning that up, but Rush handling everything really well so far. First factory's on the way. Will he go for a starport or a 2-factory follow-up is what we're going to be looking for next. This is the point in the game where Bisu won't have an observer in your base, so you can pull out some funny tricks.
Yeah. I mean, Bisu's putting on pressure with these Zealots. He's actually sent one Zealot back home, which is extremely interesting to me, and just running with his full HP Zealots only up here to maybe be annoying. I'm very curious about this choice. And I know he knows that the Vultures aren't going to be out yet, but I'm not sure if he's going to actually attempt to run by here, or is he just trying to be annoying to Rush?
Was he just confirming the CC there? I thought
Maybe.
he saw that before.
I thought he saw that before as well. I'm a little bit confused about that. I'm not 100% sure. Ooh, look at this.
But interesting. Wow.
Going straight up to 3 factories.
fact.
Yeah, he might be going all the way up into 4 factories early and putting on some pressure here.
That's possible. But what's the probability that he goes 3 factory into a 3rd base? Is that even possible in this meta?
That's why I don't think it's likely that he's doing that. I feel like it's more likely to be a timing attack with additional factories and machine shops added on.
Right. It's quite early for this 3rd factory, but he's not mining a lot of gas right now in the natural. He's just kind of being reserved with that. Maybe this is going to be a lot of vultures. I'm not quite sure what to make of this.
I think he's adding on more SCVs to mine it now.
Okay, Bisu is not really able to scout yet, so maybe this can catch him off by surprise in a couple of minutes.
But he probably
I'm very curious.
He probably definitely he definitely assumes there's going to be like some kind of like, you know, 2-factory armory play or something. You know, I mean, he's no way he's assuming like straight into 3-factory. I doubt it.
No,
yeah,
definitely not. He starts a 3rd at 620. This might actually work out pretty well for Rush then. If he's going to start a Nexus that quick, he has hardly any gateway units, and he's only got 2 gates. So the potential out of this play is pretty high, just based on what Bisu is doing. Maybe if this was a slower expansion with more gateways and a quicker Reaver, then maybe this wouldn't have worked well, but there's a good possibility here. And with this Vulture running by, okay, 1 Dragoon coming to the ramp at the perfect time is going to shut this down. Maybe 1 kill on that. But he's pulled back Bisu very far away from this front, and it's allowing him to go to the right-hand side. Completely uncontested right now. I mean, he's going to be able to... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, there is a probe hanging out at the 3 o'clock location, so like he's going to see it sometime early enough to defend, which is actually a bit of a saving grace here. If this probe wasn't here to check for this would have been a nightmare situation, but instead he's catching some of these probes from the transfer as well. He's already getting some value on these units being a little bit out position without even having to attack yet. I think he's a little bit cautious to attack because the probe saw him, so he's going to wait till all his forces are together and then go, which makes a lot of sense.
This is a lot from Rush. This is a scary, scary army, and coming down from that high ground, it's not going to be easy to get a good engage as the Protoss is coming forward now with quite a few Zealots trying to drag the mines, but this is just more and more tank damage going down on these Dragoons. Great micro, not taking any big mine shots on these Dragoons. Another run by towards the natural. Immediately blocked by Bisu. This is perfect control from him.
Yeah, I mean, so far he's mitigated a lot of disaster. A few of the probes have been sniped on the transition and what have you, but overall there's no disastrous damage that's been sustained from him for thus time being, and he's also still warding away any future potential threats, though these tanks are trying to be really sneaky and come down here into probe sniping range before the Dragoons can get back over here, but he might also lose these Dragoons for this effort. Lose this tank for this effort.
I think he's going to lose the tanks for sure now. He has a pretty good spread of these Dragoons, and with just 4 remaining, it's enough.
Yeah.
He's going to lose one of these, so he can't two-shot anymore, but the tanks going down is huge. Losing these Dragoons means nothing. He's got 3 Nexi pumping away. There's a late armory for Rush, and no third base just yet, so wow, even a Stargate here for Bisu as well. Yeah, going into Cares after this, and it's a great decision from Bisu after killing off that many tanks early on.
Yeah, no, it's a very wise choice, and he knows it's not upgrade Terran as well, right? He knows how late the armories are, so he knows that carriers have even more potency on this 3-base timing. The observer sees everything as well, so he is making a lot of factories. Is going all the way up to 7 factories, around the 10-minute mark, which is a pretty sizable amount of factories. Usually you're doing that on 3 bases going into 4, so it is pretty crazy to go on that 2 bases. But he will need those Goliaths and that production fighting against what Bisu's doing, so having this many factories might give him some chance against this carrier transition.
I thought Bisu might cancel the carriers, actually, after seeing the 7 factory play. He started 3 Stargates.
3 Stargates.
That seems wild to me. This is definitely an all-in 7 fact from Rush. It's not going to be nearly as strong as a normal 7 factory because we already lost 3 tanks and so many vultures. It's going to be a bit nerfed. But he's going to push out with a lot of tanks, a lot of ground forces. And Bisu's not going to have much more than a few Dragoons to deal with this initially until those carriers come out.
Yeah.
His speed on Zealots is going to be very slow. He's only going to have maybe 1 shuttle. Can he actually deal with this attack that's coming out right now from Rush? It's being delayed by the bridges a bit. He's going to try and engage right as the Terran's coming across the bridge. It's a very nice thought, but Rush is being cautious. He's not coming all the way across here without sieging up first. He's slowly pushing forward here. Bisu buying a lot of time, but not dealing any damage to this army of Rush, and it's swelling, growing very quickly right now.
Yeah, you need to just keep forcing as many sieges out as possible. It's going to be a little bit of time before these carriers become online and relevant, and the supplies are going to be very deceptive because 18 of that supply is just not even going to be in use for some time. So the supplies are a lot closer than they look, and this is why Bisu's going to really struggle in slowing down this force. He's trying to split off some goons to the western flank to maybe kind of be annoying and come in from another angle and try and slow down this army more indirectly rather than trying to halt it at the front. Has got around a Zealots coming in, but not a lot of vultures to soak those up. It doesn't really matter with this positioning on the ramps here, with the bridges here, and the Zealots not having speed. This is going to be dealt with really nicely by Rush, and there's actually not a lot of Dragoons to fight against these tanks either. And with the huge siege line of tanks just chilling on the bridges, there's no way Bisu can engage this. He's just in pure desperation mode. These proxy Dragoons, though, are going to be picking off some of these rallied tanks and stopping the force from growing, but the force is already large enough to threaten Bisu here. He's just on the clock right now. Carrier's only just now starting to pop out of those Stargates, but 3 are not going to be enough to overwhelm this force anytime soon, and it's going to take them a little bit of time before they build up their interceptors.
We can just build turrets here as well for Rush. It's turret time. He's going to start laying those down, all in the natural of Bisu, shutting him out of breaking through with these carriers. There's 3 on the field. Zealot speed is done, but it's too late. The Zealots already spent their lives earlier on in the fight. He's going to start to push things back a little bit. There's not quite enough Goliaths. He hasn't been able to reinforce this position for quite some time, so the Dragoons really did a great job slowing down the reinforcement train of Rush and buying that time. Now, though, the army over in the natural is large enough to actually push out on its own and take the fight with the goons, so he will reinforce this position soon. Bisu has only moments to break out before that reinforcing army comes over here and seals the deal.
Yeah, I mean,
crushes Bisu out of this game.
I mean, it's already going to be pretty fate sealing that these tanks are going to be hitting this expansion on the right hand side. If he loses too much mining here, it's going to be devastating because Rush inversely is getting his own third base online right now and producing 7 Goliaths at a time. He will eventually overwhelm this carrier force since there's not currently advantage of Bisu. He's just going to tap out saying GG. All the Protoss players are now dead, and it's going to be, unfortunately, just a Terran versus Zerg from now on.
전멸.
네, 전멸. 오늘 영
Damn. Yeah, I'm surprised that he wanted to go triple Stargate carrier. With full vision of the the 7 factory play. Like, what?
It's definitely pretty ballsy, yeah.
That is bold. That is overly bold, I will say. Alright. Looks like Hero gonna get sent out. JD, the pocket pick.
You want to get it right now?
Yeah, let's finish this. We don't have many more games to go. Just maximum, what, 4 games?
Yeah.
3 games?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
이래서
8대 2면은 사실 이게 거의 안 지는
Bold moves from Bisu in that last game. It doesn't pay off, though. The triple Stargate carrier.
5경기 중에 한 경기를
And now Protoss is extinct. All TVZ for the rest of this series, and I'm not too sad about it. Are you, Shin?
Me personally, I'm really happy about it. I mean, there'll be some people in the chat not so happy about it in the comments, maybe, if you're, big Protoss fans and BC fanboys and what have you. What can I tell you? Your boys are not performing. They need to get better. I don't think it's a map issue as well, guys. Just saying.
근데 오늘
It's definitely not a lineup issue either. This is the best of the best for the Protoss squad, and
Yeah.
they're not able to perform today. Sign of the times, perhaps? Well,
쉬지를 않아요.
we'll find out in future weeks of the KCM. Rush now versus Hero.
대로 쓰는 사람을 처음
We are in horizontal spawns
지금 그
on Radeon, which does put a bit of a twist on the matchup.
Yeah. I mean, it does give you a little bit of pressure on the Terran player here. I mean, they will be scouted early on by the Overlords, and also a direct path to the natural expansion makes Muta Harass much more potent, so maybe you want to invest in a little bit more turrets, slightly faster timing and what have you. But it does also mean that you know where you need to concentrate your turrets, because it's much less likely for them to come into your main base early game, so you can go heavier on your turrets and your natural and a little bit lighter on your main and just cover your production zone instead and kind of min-max that way. But yeah, it does allow like a bit of a weirdness to occur in this matchup.
내가 실수만 안 하면 이긴다 정도거든요, 사실은.
Yeah, the Overlord can also scout the natural without being revealed, and
오늘 어떻게 그 상대 전적을 좀
the Marine attack very, very fast. Like the 2 racks timing coming towards your natural is a little bit scary quick
Yeah.
in these positions. You can get broken if you don't have creep colonies already down and ready to begin into sunken colonies when the move out occurs. So we'll see if any of these factors come into play. Hero gets his 12 hatch down. He sees the strategy here. Not going to be 8 racks. Not going to be CC first, which would counter his build. It's pretty much even with the racks expansion out of Rush, and these 2 players will be able to test out their latest styles, their best builds here in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Hero is going to bring to the table. He's got such a diverse range of play that you never know quite what you're going to get when you do watch him play, which is one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite players. It does seem like he's playing like a super straight up 2-hatch style. I don't think he's playing anything too macro centric at the moment, which his usually wheelhouse is to play more macro heavy, but he's capable of doing like anything that's low economy as well. So I can imagine it's very scary to go up against a Zerg like that, where you really don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's a signature of a great player, is the ability to adapt to any style. He's got a great Overlord position over this little base area just outside the natural. He's watching Rush's Marines very closely, seeing if a naked Marine move out is going to be coming. Rush trying to obfuscate that just by having the Marines out a little bit in front of the wall, in a place where he thinks that he's not being scouted, but I don't think that Hero's getting fooled by this too much. He's hoping to force a few extra lings. Look at that. He's moving in the vision of the Overlord. And we should see a response here from Hero. Although this might be a mind game. He might call the bluff in a moment. He sees no lings popping, but those eggs could be popping lings just now. 5 Marines making their way into the front, and they are committed.
Hero's trying to bluff Rush as well by showing him only 2 lings and then coming in with more and going in for the drone surround as well. Really clutch play from Hero. Look at this absolute handsome fancy nerd saying, like, can you believe it? Like, the way he baited the Marines in as well. He acted like he didn't know he was in trouble, and then like shows him the 2 lings, runs back, and then baits the Marines to commit to the attack, and then commits to the drone surround before he knows it's time as well.
Yeah, it felt like he was baiting there with those 2 lings. Like, he definitely knew that they were coming, that the Marines were coming, but he made it appear that he didn't.
Right.
It also looked like he kind of botched the movement on the lings. Like, the 2 lings that popped in the natural didn't join the fight initially, but he was just focused on getting the drones into a good surrounding position. Less focused on the lings there, and it ends up working out perfectly for him. So Hero in a great spot now going into this 2-hatch muta play. He's built the bare minimum number of lings, and he hasn't lost any drones. So after killing a few Marines, he's going to be able to put on a lot of pressure to Rush.
Oh, absolutely. And being able to set up this third base at the bottom right, natural expansion, like, it's so far away from Rush to attack. It's such a long rush distance, the longest rush distance we've got in Starcraft, Radiant Cross Map, and going to be coming to the main base with these mutalisks and stalling out the turrets before they can be finished as well, and getting a few SCV snipes before having a real high number of mutas. He's doing a lot with a little right now, is Hero. And that's really annoying for Rush because, like I was saying earlier, he's committed a lot more to the natural turrets rather than the production area in the main base. And because the timing was off by a few seconds, it's given a nice little window here for Hero to exploit. And now he's got enough to come into the natural and start one-shotting the SCVs.
He's already killed about 4 or 5 SCVs. He's going to come in and get this turret. Now opening up the position to really abuse the mineral line here for Rush. Rush struggling with what to do at this point. He's going to send Marines out on the map while lings run into the natural and start to kill these turrets. Rush is going to go across and try to force the Mutalist back. So far, it's successful. Hero does back away, respecting the Marine attack that could come into his natural with no sunken colony there. He needs these mutas on that defense, and the lings in the natural get cleared out after killing just 1 turret. A pretty decent response here from Rush, but I really feel like Hero has the momentum.
Yeah, no, that's for damn sure saying. I mean, Hero's the kind of guy where if you try and give him $1, he'll take your identity and take your entire bank account. You can't give him anything here. Just look how easily he's able to mop up these bio units as well. It's really exceptional to watch him play. Like, I think he might be the contender to win the next ASL if we don't see Flash in full dominant fashion.
Now, he was a contender in the last season. Had a few pitfalls, but maybe if he cleans up his ZVZ and gets it as strong looking as his ZVT, could see him take this next season of ASL. Hero will lose a muta here in the rally. It looks like no, he pulls back. Has a good number of damaged mutas kind of sitting over there at that position, and he's gathered together a pretty scary force of Ling muta to potentially run this bio ball over. Rush being very careful and continuously reinforcing this position. He looks ready to run back into the natural, if I'm being honest. He looks like he's a second away from, if Hero pulls the trigger, he's just gonna run for it. But yeah, here comes those army. Yeah, he is just going to run for it. He's going to try and get into a better position where the turrets are going to be able to help out. But even with the turrets to assist and the advantage of the Sim City here in the natural, he still loses almost everything.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, he wants the bio to come out onto the map for the Ling muta cleanup like Sulky does, but he's doing so well with the mutas that he has to force the issue instead. He's just going to be dive bombing on top of these for small pockets of Marines. If he gets on top of the production area here, saying the game's just going to be over. GG, Rush taps out. JYJ's the last remaining Terran hope, and he's got to take out Hero and then Jaedong waiting in the wings, saying it's going to get crazy up in here.
아 그러니까 저그가
예.
이 이재동 예, 여기서
Yikes.
Yeah, man. Hero is just fucking different specimen.
That was gnarly. That was scary.
만약에 졸장 선수가 이기면
He's a macro player, Sam.
그렇죠.
예. 참 신기한
5승고지 올라가셨습니다.
와.
Frightening what Hero can do with, like you said, once you've given him $1, it's
지금 4승을
Rush giving that donation of early Marines that set Hero up for that play in that early mid game to just overwhelm and destroy
55만 원에서
Rush as he was trying to get out of his base. Now JYJ's got to be a little bit frightened by that performance. A little bit, what would you call it?
기대하고 계시는데
예.
뭐 저는 뭐
근데 모르죠.
모르죠.
자 일단 8배럭 들어가고요. 정영재 선수가 또
Help me out. Help me out, Shin.
Help you out. What do you mean to say?
What am I trying to say? What is it when you are like overwhelmed?
Pressured, but you want a synonym for that?
No. Yes, a synonym. Synonym.
Synonym.
Cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Synonym.
I'm not feeling particularly articulate today.
That's okay, buddy.
Let's see, 3. This is 4.
I'm also really stoned right now, so I don't know exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it.
I wanted to say, like, you know, when you're about to play a game against someone or fight someone, and they just
Intimidated.
beat someone, intimidated. That's what it is. That's what I was trying. That's the word I was going for.
Yeah, now that I understand what the angle you were going for, I can get the word.
Right.
예, 여기서 만약에 졸장 선수가 이기면 졸장이 주장입니다. 해가 없어서.
그렇죠.
예. 참 신기한
5승고지 올라가셨습니다.
와.
Wow, Hero looking fantastic in that last game, but it really comes back to the donation he gave to, or that Rush gave to Hero of those early Marines. And like you said, with giving Hero $1, he'll just take it all. He'll take your entire life, and he rips away Rush's chances here. He rips away another Terran player, bringing his team one step closer to an ultimate victory. And now JYJ, likely intimidated after watching his fellow Terran player get eviscerated. How will he perform on Retro? Hero spawning in the top left, JYJ in the bottom left.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go into this potential last game.
Definitely going to be a little bit of jitters in JYJ's home booth. And early pull as well from Hero. He anticipates the 8 racks. He's not going to go for a 12 hatch. He's not foolish. He knows what's likely going to be coming out of JYJ to kind of get a little cheap early game advantage against the likes of Hero. He probably doesn't feel too comfortable playing a straight up game against Hero right now, especially after the wind is going to be blowing at Hero's sails at like full mast right now, saying just like chugging along at like over 9,000 knots along this beautiful ocean cosmic scale that is Starcraft.
This map, Retro, in close spawns, the opposite of that previous map with Radeon being one of the longest rush distance in the game of StarCraft, one of the longest map rush distances that we have. This is a very short rush distance, so a great decision by Hero to go for the earlier pool. And the moment that JYJ sees the timing of this hatchery, though, I think prudent decision by him to just back off, get this wall finished, and get his CC on the way. And he's really not going to fall too far behind because of this. It's a great way to open because you don't need to pull the trigger on this aggression. It
Right.
slows you down a little bit, but with the wall behind this and the CC coming up, he's going to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great way of cutting your losses. Like, he was feeling good, he went to the casino, he started throwing chips down, realized his luck wasn't quite swinging, and was like, hey, you know what, I'm just going to call it a day before this gets super crazy.
Yeah. He's going to fall back into a pretty reasonable macro play from here. JYJ doesn't have any surprises for us just yet. Throwing down a second. Oh, nice. Gets that STV. But throws down a second barracks back at home. He's going to go for just a standard 2-Rax follow-up. And it can be strong against a player who opened early pool. You really can't afford too many sunken colonies when you're going this quick for tech.
Oh, that's for damn sure saying, yeah. I mean, the usual thing you'll do is you'll make 2 sunkens if you know it's like a very strong like 2-Rax timing. You're kind of forced to make those 2 sunkens. But if you can, you want to avoid making those at any cost. And sometimes you'll squeeze out a few speedlings early on to try and like force backstabs and do anything possible to prevent the need to make those sunkens if you can help it. Sometimes you'll even see some weird hybrid variations where you only make 1 sunken and like 10 speedlings and try and do some like, you know, catch rounds on the Marines right when you need to and what have you. Sometimes you can calculate that out as well. But if you can help it, I would say not making any sunkens is always the most optimal play, right?
So he's going to try and force him to do that, right? JYJ, he knows that you don't want to make sunkens, especially like if you're going for a 2.5 hatch. Making 2 sunkens not going to throw off your build too much. It's annoying, but it's going to slow you down in a hardly noticeable way. But when you're going for an early pool and you're this drone light, trying to get into a very quick Mutalist timing, that you feel it. You definitely feel it. The addition of those 2 extra sunkens, and this is the plan. This is the goal. JYJ is getting ready for this move out. He's just about to pop 2 medics, then start to move across the map. A hatchery in the top right-hand corner starts for Hero. Is he going to get forced into these sunken colonies? I think it's likely. We should just see the wall close behind JYJ, and these speedlings, which are threatening the counterattack, are not that threatening right now. Your Terran player.
I mean, the main issue for Zerg is that they want to make this 3rd hatchery, and so you're so tight on making your Mutalisks because you're making this 3rd hatchery. So if you also have to make 2 sunkens, it just really makes your optimization so poor when you are squeezing out these Mutas. But so far, he's been able to do that on just a single sunken, so that's actually optimized his minerals a lot more than would usually be the case. So he actually might just barely have enough Mutas to get over here and stop the hatchery from dying. The hatchery might get really low here on the right. It might survive with like 200 hit points, but Hero might just barely be able to save it.
Rush has pulled the trigger on several stims to get over here as quickly as possible. Hero's not going that direction. He's heading for the opponent's base. He cancels, and he's just going to put on massive pressure. Are there turrets in time? It seems like Rush has slowed down his turret timing a little bit to try and get that army to the top right as quickly as possible, but the turret barely finishes at the last moment here. JYJ gonna retreat up into his main base. He is looking very solid.
Right. Yeah, I'm really impressed with JYJ because he didn't skimp out on his turret timing. Like, if he was like cutting corners there and just hoping that Hero would try and save the hatchery and wasn't making his turrets on time back at home, he could just straight up die. So the fact that he's really respecting all possible outcomes is really impressive because he's not cutting any corners to make this work, and I'm really impressed by that.
Great engagement from JYJ, but he loses his medic. Could he go after the hatchery? It gets laid down right in front of his eyes. Not much he can do about it, though, with this number of mutas fighting, and all the medics are gone. The naked marine falls, and Hero will get this hatchery online, if a bit later than he hoped.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very tidy cleanup, I have to say, from Hero there. Lost like the absolute bare minimal to kill that bioforce and get the hatchery on the way, but the slowdown has, you know, done its job, like we were just saying. So yeah, so far this has kind of reset the game state a lot. Like early game, it looked like, you know, Hero was in a slight edge because of the, you know, the the 8 racks falling flat on its face, but the reality is the game state is actually much more JYJ favored than originally. So yeah, hopefully JYJ can navigate this into a win maybe, but I still think that hero is very much in this game, that's for sure.
Absolutely, he's still in this, and he's going to be sharking around looking for opportunities into this main. He hasn't seen the timing of the factory just yet. He's got his transition going at Hydralisk Den, making lurker upgrades as we speak. He has to buy some time. But an armory, wait a second, armory here from JYJ. Is he actually going to go into a Valkyrie tank push
Maybe
to follow this up? That's an interesting decision, considering we've just got the scan on the natural and seen the transition on the way.
Well, he might be banking on Hero relying too much on his mutas and not having a crisp enough lurker timing. And he's doing a pretty good job of turning around on these mutas so thus far. Beautiful spread off the Marines each time, getting the catch on these mutas, being very mindful of the exact positioning of these Marines and reacting very adeptly to the mutalist positioning of Hero inversely. So so far I've been really impressed by JYJ this game, honestly. Like, unless he falls apart in a few moments here, I would say he's played a very strong game.
He's going to get the reinforcement to this Marine medic group in the middle of the map. It's just become very scary with +1 finishing up. Mutalisks are falling. The group is getting smaller. There's no lurkers just yet. Tanks are being incremented out here. It's looking like a fantasy push. How is the Defiler timing from Hero? He's got the evolution chamber done, so the upgrades will be started, but it's really important that he gets that hive on time before these tanks start to come across the map and actually siege up either of these two areas. Where will he go, the natural or the third? What do you think, Shun?
I think he should just roll up to the natural, but he might not want to go for that because it's too obvious of a choice. He might want to go across the middle of the map to kind of hide from the Overlord scouting and what have you, so he might decide to attack the third just because it makes sense in terms of like hiding the push for as long as possible.
Ooh, this is scary. Valkyrie is out, but it's the first Valkyrie, and as soon as it starts to shoot, it cannot move. It takes 2 volleys from those mutas and almost dies without dealing any damage to the mutalisk stack whatsoever. So this is a bit scary right now for JYJ. If he loses this push, he's going to be in a pretty serious deficit. Valkyrie super low, and the tanks are shoving forward. The mutas are not in position to cut off reinforcements, so these tanks are going to be able to siege up, and more will be following behind this. Another Valkyrie should be joining the crew here in a moment too. There it is. 2 shots from that. Third shot goes down. The mutas take a pretty big volley from that Valkyrie, but he's just going to pull the trigger, going right in towards the natural. JYJ going for broke right now. He's just going to dive in, try to kill the Nidus Canal. Can he actually get it? Oh! He does get the lurker. He kills the Nidus, and the Valkyrie goes down. The Scourge kind of thrown away there, and the muted number is way too low. Great scan to finish this off. GG, Hero taps out. What an amazing and well-timed push from JYJ. That was scary. Very well done with the fantasy style. You don't honestly see that from him very often, but he pulled it out brilliantly there in that game.
Jaedong JYJ Finals.
All right. Let's go.
Let's get it.
근데 오늘 약간 상대 전적 따라갔거든요. 사실. 왜냐면 아까 유영진 선수, 조일장 선수의 상대 전적이 8대2가 그대로 보여줬던 그 정도의 퍼펙트한 경기였어요, 사실.
그리고 중요한 게 말씀드린 것처럼 최근 경기예요. 최근 기세가 6승 1패.
All right, Hero is gone. I can get rid of this score line. It's JYJ versus Jaedong for this final match, and we're back on Radeon. Not horizontal spawns this time, so it does change things a bit.
Yeah, the rush distance is a little bit longer. and we don't have direct paths into the natural expansion like before, so might see a little bit of a heavier turret commitment in the main base for JYJ this time around, and the production area slightly more prioritized as well.
One thing about this map, as a consideration for Zerg, is that you can move your first Overlord across the map, and then you have scouting information in both
Right.
bottom left and bottom right natural. But if you don't move an Overlord, your first Overlord directly across the map, then you don't have a safe path anymore. And if you try to send one, you could end up losing it. So Jaedong opening pool first, I guess it's fine here, because if he goes for the pool, he's going to have Lings to defend the Overlord. So checking top right might be a better decision here. That way, he will, provide safe passage for that Overlord down to the bottom right. And if there was, Terran in the top right, he would have the information right away, so he could send the Lings directly to that area.
A little bit of weird issues with Jaedong's drones here and their mining optimization, and had to glitch out the drone from over the minerals before he got it out to make the hatchery and drone scale. A bit of a weird situation there, but nonetheless going to be seeing a pretty standard play from both players, it seems. No crazy barracks timing or early pool. That's going to be like, game ending by any means. So this is just a nice little safe play here from Jaedong.
Been liking Jaedong's play lately, especially in this matchup. He's been showing some excellent understanding and great gameplay. Oh, he gets that first SCV. You can tell that JYJ was not expecting an early pull here at all.
Yeah, it might give a nice little edge here to Jaedong, and with the drone still alive in the main base, this makes it a little bit annoying, because he wants to catch this drone in the main base. Meanwhile, the Marines aren't in the wall in the natural to help deal with the Lings. So now, very weird situation, because he's going to have to evacuate the wall, retreat to the ramp, and this gives Jaedong a little bit of a window to be annoying here.
Yeah, he can start to hit this supply depot, and as soon as the Marines come down the ramp, could try to dive on that. He's waiting for the one Marine to pop. He jumps on it immediately. Great surround there for Jaedong. He's not making any more links behind this. He's actually double hatchery in the main base before gas. So he is going to go into a big... Oh, diving right on top of this. He's going to get both the Marines for sure. Another Marine pops out, though, at the end. And pretty good blocking here from the SCV, so only one Ling will survive. Pretty well held by JYJ. Behind this, though, a big macro play coming from Jaedong.
Yeah, going straight up into 3 hatcheries, so turning into like a 2.5 hatchery play after this initial Ling investment. And he's reset the Marine count so much that as long as he doesn't just like lose drones to like 2 Marines running across the map, he's looking really fine right now.
Yeah, this is maybe more reminiscent of like a 3-hatch play, old school 3-hatch, than even the 2.5 more modern style.
Yeah,
but
right.
With that early Ling aggression paying off by killing quite a few Marines, I think he is in a pretty decent spot. He looks to be a little supply blocked right now, but there's the Overlord, and with this additional hatchery so early on, he's going to be able to pump out a crazy number of drones, whereas JYJ is just going to be sitting here on curve trying to get that command center down. What kind of pressure can he put onto Jaedong besides just a naked Marine move out, which is quite risky without any scouting information?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be able to do much.
He won't do that. He's going to have to play very passive for at least another minute here. He might attempt like a naked 7, 8 Marine move out, but I don't think it's very wise from him to go for that. Jaedong's lined up very nicely for 3 hatchery Ling, so very risky play to go for that right now. He has a lot more lava at his disposal than usual, so the higher Ling count is much more likely, as he might also want to avoid having to make Sunkens at this point. So yeah, very, very unwise to try and move out from him. So unfortunately, it looks like Jaedong's going to get away with murder and just make loads of drones, hardly any Zerglings, and no Sunkens, and going to have a very strong mid-game here.
Everything looking on curve for Jaedong as he propels himself forward. The drones here going to be leading the charge. The fuel in his engine to make this massive late game a macro powerhouse. That's the thing that's been impressing me the most with Jaedong. If he manages to get through the early game without taking too much damage, his macro right now is insane. He's able to pump out such a plethora of units.
Well,
In all matchups, it's quite crazy to witness.
that is very reminiscent of how he was so dominant in Zerg versus Zerg. It wasn't just that he had a high win rate in Zerg versus Zerg, it's that whenever he got any kind of advantage, he would always win. And that was the thing. He would find ways of getting a tiny little advantage, and then he would always win those games. And that was why he had such an impressive record in Zerg versus Zerg. So it is very much like his style of mindset. He wants to secure some kind of advantage and then capitalize on that for the remainder of the game.
So JYJ has optimized here pretty well. He's realized what's gone on with Jaedong. He's seen the third hatch before gas. He knows pretty much what's coming. Wow, a very fast Hydro Sten. Look at that. He knows that this is going to be like 7 minutes timing for the mutas to come across the map. So he hasn't built any early turrets or anything. He's just adding them on after building into a pretty sizable barracks count with 4 racks. He's going to have a lot of Marines ready to fight. On the other side, Jaedong going to have plenty of forces here with that very fast hatchery. He's got so much larva to work with. This is going to be a battle of 2 pretty big contestants. These guys both have a lot behind them. Whoa, that Marine dancing back and forth, pretty crazy. I'm curious about this Hydro Sten though. It's so early. It's even before the Mutas popped, right?
Well, it's about 30 seconds earlier than what you would probably have expected from the timings that we saw Jaedong go for. So that will probably eliminate any window that JYJ had of exploiting Jaedong. And I guess it also means that because Jaedong's third base was so late, it gives him plenty of time to slow walk these Hydras all the way over to the top right as well, which is an important factor to note. Because if these Marines were able to come onto the map and these Hydras weren't able to get across the map, it'd be a pretty much game-ending scenario for Jaedong.
Right, he would have to rely really heavily on these mutas to try and slow everything down, and now he doesn't have to rely on anything except for buying just a tiny bit of time to get these lurkers online, and I think he's going to be completely safe here, honestly.
Yeah.
We have Hive on the way, so still quite a long time before Nidus can come online up here in the top right-hand corner, but he's got time. He's got plenty of lings out here to look for counterattacks, backstabs, catching, reinforcements. He's got the mutas that he made originally. He hasn't really built any more. He's been saving a lot of his gas for lurkers and his follow-up with all of the upgrades coming online. Now going to dive into the natural here before the mutalisks become completely obsolete. Going to try and get whatever damage he can before we have splash damage, and maybe get a good scout of the main as well to see what's going on and what the timings are on everything. A tank from JYD. 2 tanks.
Yeah.
What is he going to do with these?
Well, not a lot. They might just die, saying if he's not careful. Oh, Jaedong doesn't actually get the pick-off and pays the price for trying to commit to that as well. But yeah, this push isn't going to be too successful. The only thing it can really do is slow down a 4th base that Jaedong's not really keen on getting anyway right now. So a little bit unfortunate. With these tanks are basically pinned down for the time being until he can build up a big enough Bible back at home. And Jaedong knows that. He's just going to keep on top of these Marines, force them to run away with their tail tucked between their legs and hide in that bunker until more can be mounted here to actually get out. But Jaedong also knows that now he's got time to come and be annoying and set up a nice little hold position lurker tactic here, maybe.
Jaedong is so famous for this right now. He does this almost every game. Tries to get aggressive with his lurker. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it backfires dramatically, but this time it's going to pay off. Huge hits on those lurkers, and Jaedong, he manages to make it work. He's going to dive on top of the tanks right now, getting, I think, a kill at least. Not going to get 2, but these retreating lurkers probably going to run back home now. It's a little bit risky now to keep sending lurkers out on the map because we need something back at home in the natural to keep ourselves alive until that Defiler comes out, still quite a bit of time before
Yeah.
that's ready.
Yeah, it's still going to be another like minute and a half until the Defiler is consuming and laying down Dark Swarms. There's a pretty sizable window of attack for JYJ to try and exploit here. And he is getting caught out on the map with some of these Lurkerling forces as well. So exactly what JYJ needs to mount a comeback in this game and maybe find a winning condition here, because there's not a lot in the top right. And I don't think the Nidus Canal has actually been fully set up yet. So there is a moment of weakness here for Jadong. Oh, look, there's a Nidus Canal.
The Nidus Canal is there. I'm not sure if it's connected yet. Okay, it is. We've got extra lurkers coming in. Only one tank to try and shove this back with one vessel to deal damage. This should be enough lurkers, especially with more stuff coming online. Guardians behind this. Okay.
I like it.
It's interesting.
Well, because the forces will be pinned down here, so by the time the Guardians morph, they can just like sandwich the army from both sides and force a full-on retreat. And yeah, he can use these Guardians defensively until Consumer's ready.
Oh, this is going to be quite the surprise for JYJ. He's looking for the ability to push through right now, and he's just going to get flanked by Guardians. Oh, and Jadong is going to bring up another force here with some more Defilers and Lurkers to hit this from the south as well, along with the Guardians. Here comes to Scourge. They're going to kill. Wait, okay, nice snipe there. Keeping that vessel alive at least, but the entire force gets completely surrounded and annihilated. More Scourge come out just to catch this. Very well played here by Jadong. Incredibly well played.
That was like watching like a competitive eater like devour like a massive 5,000 calorie plate of food, realize that like some of it dripped onto the floor, and like reaching down and like snatching off every last little scrap and then scoffing it down. That was crazy.
That was like a ballet dancer or a ballet dancer duo flipping each other in the air and just catching on one foot on one hand in a handstand. You know what I mean? It's incredible the amount of finesse that it takes to make something like that happen. Really, really impressed with Jadong's play thus far. The Guardians are a very interesting flare, but the real success of that fight was coming in from both angles and crushing that army up in the top right-hand corner. It can't be understated how difficult it is to pull off all of this while all the craziness is going on with JYJ trying to break into that position. Things have gone very well thus far, but there's a bit of time now for JYJ to potentially break this man open. And it is tough to get down onto this low ground and take this base with, irradiates that are going to be hammered out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when you see Zergs find a way of utilizing Guardians, especially defensively, and it did make sense given the current game state and map geometry, so I was really happy to see Jadong find a use of those units. Maybe Artosis is onto something when he says about Starcraft the Evo would enjoy Starcraft, like the fighting community, because, I mean, if you think of Starcraft, I guess you could break it down into, like, combo elements when, like, both players are using, like, strategic combos to try and overwhelm one another, and I guess there's some kind of correlation to fighting games there, but in a much more tactical sense.
Really similar to a fighting game. I definitely agree with you there. That combo from Jadong earlier was incredible, but it's not a knockout combo. It's not a knockout blow. JYJ is still in this. He's got a good number of vessels. He has the third base online. And he's got 4 drop ships in a dream. Let's see if he can get in here. Lotto ships. We're going to roll the dice.
Yeah.
Try to get some damage that could change this game, but he has to keep it hidden. He can't allow Jadong to find out about this, or he's just going to get shut down.
Yeah, well, Jadong's using his combos to build up his energy and ultimate meter to do some special moves. It looks like JYJ is going to be doing a little bit of a gimbal gamble here and just trying to roll the dice, go to the casino, see what happens. And sometimes that can be just what you need to come back in the game against Zerg when you're facing a full gas situation and the siege has kind of failed. Like, you kind of have to just go for it right now. But Jadon might be expecting this. This is exactly the kind of gambit that Terran players need to do in these situations. So Jadon might expect, oh, he might see it with the Overlord just barely as well. Miscalculation on Vector from JYJ. Very unwise for him to choose that exact path there. Really unfortunate for him. Now Jadong's going to really smash this down, I think. It's going to be a little bit rough for him.
Oh my god. Plague on all of this. And the Scourge are here as well. 2 go down already. A 3rd about to fall. The vessels go down as well. All these Marines are going to get cleaned up, eaten up easily by this army. Lurkers over at the... Wow, 5 lurkers at top right. That is way too many, way more than JYJ was expecting. And I don't like to call it games too early, neither do you, Shun, but this is looking over.
It's looking pretty brutal. I mean, we see some nice irradiates that are trying to like prevent the Scourge from sniping these, but it's actually not going to be enough. I think at least one of these vessels are going to go down as well. So everything is looking rough for JYJ. Currently behind on supply, which is a devastating position to be in, as Terran has got his 2-1 upgrades at the moment, so he's ahead on up. It's actually not ahead on upgrades at all, because the Evo Chamber was slightly early from Jadong, so yeah, like Zerg right now is like winning on like every metric. Is really tough to come out of these holes as JYJ. He would need like a razor tricks while drops are going off, creating chaos to keep Jadong from just able to launch these cost-efficient assaults out on the map. But because JYJ is unable to do that, he's just going to be like squashed between a rock and a hard place. And if that pressure doesn't turn him into a diamond, he's going to be turned into dust very soon, Sam.
I think this is the moment when JYJ could pause the game. Oh, what are these Guardians doing here?
Hello.
Whoa.
Freeing up supply, maybe.
JYJ could pause the game and accuse Jadong of map hacking. That one Defiler just wandering out happened to have the opportunity to cast Plague on that massive drop coming, that gamble play from JYJ. But that was just par for the course for Jadong, sending out a random Defiler to look for an opportunity on some Marines and Medics sitting out in the natural. He finds an even better target, and now his position is insanely good. He will get this 4th base. JYJ does get the 4th base online, but he's just sitting here building Marines and Medics against a rapidly growing Ultralisk army. I don't know if he's going to have the muscle to deal with this. There's Defilers out. This is not pure Ultra play. It is backed up by Defilers, and this base is wide open. Jadong's going to hit this hard as he's taking the top center as well.
Well, this is the only advantage that JYJ is ever going to have, is that he's got a small upgrade advantage for the time being. It's 4-1 Ultras against the 3 attack of the Marines, but that's not going to remain for much. So many vessels going down to the split focus of those Scourge. There's a few battle cruisers being fielded to try and put some pressure on these gas expansions, which is much needed as well, but Jadong's already ravaging the 3rd base location of JYJ. He's not currently got much gas coming in right now, and eventually he's going to dry up, and the Ultras are a high enough number that it can chomp through these small pockets of bio as well. So right now, like, JYJ is just sliding further and further down the ladder, and meanwhile Jadong's able to like climb to the skies and ascend beyond to the heavens.
That was sick play by Jadong. He had the Ultras and Defiler ready for a really long time near that 3rd base of JYJ, and he was just waiting on Scourge to arrive. And as soon as the Scourge arrive, he goes in, it baits the vessels in, and he gets a ton of kills, kills the base, forces JYJ back, and takes that game. Super impressed by Jadong's overall performance, and he takes it home for his squad. Zerg with another win, Shun.
Yeah.
We're on the rise, bro. Our stock is going up.
Hey man, we're pure of essence.
All right, stonks. Let me grab the screen cap of the final.
To the moon. The Diamond Hand Zerg squad. You want to wrap up right quick so you can get to your day of your go?
Yeah, had a interesting Scottish festival.
Scottish
in
festival.
In my area.
What do they do? Wear kilts, play bagpipes, drink a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds good.
Yes. So, let's figure this out.
I won't dox myself, but all three of my names are Scottish.
So you got a little bit in you, huh?
Yeah, I got my own clan tartan. I could wear kilt for my wedding and all that. Although I'm English through and through, born and bred.
Through and through, huh?
Through and through, through one side and out the other side, you know.
All right. Here we are with the point rankings. Zerg on the come up. Got the diamond hands here, Shun.
Yeah.
We're hanging on.
To
I know that this squad is going to the moon, yeah.
You like to see it as well. I mean, I know there's going to be some unhappy people in the comments, you know, the flatline Prodos squad, but it is what it is. They're just not performing, guys. It's not the map's fault. It's not anyone's fault, but the individual players themselves. They need to get it together, right? Let's not make excuses for them. Meanwhile, Zerg just like on a outer atmosphere course right now, like to the moon and beyond, saying I'm really happy to see it. Terran's still ramping up slowly, currently still in the lead 5-4. Maybe they can, you know, keep their lead in the following weeks and, you know, put Zerg back in their place. But so far I'm liking this Zerg trajectory.
A lot of great games here today. Great performance from both Hero and Jaedong. Who else of note for this week of KCM? I'm shocked, of course, that Snow got taken out so early on, but I'm really happy for Speed that he got his vengeance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's really nice to see players like Speed not only get some stage time, but actually performing pretty well when they haven't. That means he's 2-1 this season, right? That's 2-2 this season. So that's a pretty okay record. If you're going 50% with these boys, I mean, yeah, that's something to speak for.
It's a mental victory for Speed. I don't know if he was even having his head in the game in that one versus Queen on Troy. It seemed like he was playing at a pretty high level, but once you take out Snow, who kind of embarrassed you in ASL, it's just got to be such a big hit for your mental game. Anytime you take him on in the future, you can at least remember that time you were able to get one over on him and you know, propel yourself into the future, not allow that previous loss to hold you back. So I'm really happy for Speed. I like him as a player. I want to see more of him in the future. Hopefully we'll see him in other weeks of KCM, but there's just so many great players out there right now, Shin. We're blessed.
I mean, we are truly blessed in this new golden era of the game. I'm all about it, saying, yeah, it's nice to see players like Speed playing the role of like King Leonidas and like showing that Xerxes can bleed and giving hope to these weaker Terran players that the likes of Snow can still be dealt with by mid-mortals.
That's right. Well, this is it for our week number 4. We'll be back again next week, of course, with more hot KCM action. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Links, as always, are in the description. Go check out Shun. Go click the link to KCM's channel. Give him some love, too. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next broadcast.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
There you go. Good games, good cast. Had a blast.
Yeah, we did it. We had some scheduling malfunctions.
we miscommunicated a little bit on both sides. I read back some of the messages and got even more confused, then realized maybe what you were trying to say, and yeah. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm glad we finally got around to it. Is it? I guess the time zone was the main issue for you, like figuring out that the times, because of you flipping your schedule so much, to going from being like 9 hours ahead of me to like hours behind would have been confusing as well.
Yeah, the big problem was that I was high, and then my computer was on Japanese time, and then I was looking at your message, and it was like 5 hours ago, and you said 15 hours in the future, and then I was like calculating that based on the time on my computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I figured
and
that's
then I
what
was like,
happened
wait,
afterwards.
it's actually not Canadian time, and then I was lost.
Yeah.
I was having a hard time, but yeah, I think we should be able to use this time next week as well.
Okay. That's good.
Maybe one day earlier potentially.
Okay.
If we can.
Yeah, just give me as long as you give me a heads up like the night before and be like, yo, we'll do it tomorrow or whatever, then it should be good.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to edit it, and I'll get it out tonight.
Okay.
So, I think I'm going to go out to the beach.
Yeah, man, go have a nice day. You got better weather over there.
Yeah, it's really nice right now. Super hot.
Yeah, go
Try
enjoy
not to get burned.
Yeah, sun cream, my dude.
All right, talk to you later.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Bye.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Sub if you haven't. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip. Have a lovely weekend, guys. Peace.